Brenda, a whirlwind of nervous energy, stood outside the restroom. She jiggled her foot impatiently. "Anyone in there?" she called out, her voice a tad too loud. Silence. Brenda sighed. Her bladder felt like a water balloon about to burst. This was a disaster. She tried the door handle. Locked! "Oh, come on," she muttered, picturing the overflowing inbox waiting on her desk. Just then, the door swung open. Out came Deborah, the office diva, her perfectly manicured nails adjusting her designer scarf. She looked Brenda up and down with a disdainful sniff. "Some of us," she announced dramatically, "have standards." Brenda blinked. "Standards?" she echoed, confused. "What are you—" Then it hit her. The air freshener. Or rather, the lack of it. Deborah, with another dramatic sniff, pulled out a travel-sized bottle of high-end air freshener. "Lavender chamomile," she explained, spritzing the air around her. "Calming." "Right," Brenda mumbled, trying to edge past her. "Because office restrooms are known for their calming ambience." Deborah blocked her path. "Hygiene, Brenda," she said pointedly. "It's important, especially in shared spaces." Suddenly, a high-pitched voice pierced the air. "Deborah, darling, did you see the latest memo about the Johnson account?" It was Mark, the intern, known for his desperate attempts to impress Deborah. Mark scurried over, his eyes glued to Deborah. He completely ignored Brenda, who was now hopping from one foot to the other. "I have some brilliant ideas," he gushed. Deborah, loving the attention, patted his arm condescendingly. "Of course you do, darling. Later, perhaps." Brenda, at her wit's end, groaned. "Excuse me," she exclaimed, pushing past them. "Some of us have actual work to do." She slammed the restroom door shut, finally alone. "Unbelievable," she muttered, leaning against the sink. "Lavender chamomile, like this place is a spa." Brenda splashed water on her face, glancing at her reflection. "Who needs calming scents when you've got deadlines?" she asked her reflection with a wry grin. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was her boss. "Brenda, where are you? We're about to start the Johnson meeting." Brenda's eyes widened. "The Johnson meeting?" she gasped, her heart pounding. She'd completely forgotten. "Be there in 2 minutes," she yelled into the phone before realizing she hadn't hung up. She could hear her boss's muffled voice. 2 minutes? What's she doing writing a novel in there? Brenda groaned again. This day couldn't get any worse. Or could it? Just then, another voice joined her boss's. It was Deborah. 2 minutes? That's barely enough time for a touch-up." Brenda could practically hear Deborah's disapproving sniff through the phone. "Some people," Deborah continued, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "have no concept of professional presentation." The door swung open again. This time it was Richard, the office clown, holding 2 donuts. He looked at Brenda, who was holding her phone and sporting a panicked expression, then at the phone in his hand that was also ringing. "Brenda?" Richard asked, his eyes wide with mock concern. "Are you all right in there? Do you need moral support? Or maybe a donut?" Brenda stared at him, completely speechless. "Because," Richard continued, taking a large bite out of one of the donuts, "it sounds like things are getting pretty intense in your world right now. And trust me, donuts make everything better." Brenda burst out laughing. Leave it to Richard to find humor in the most chaotic situations. Maybe this day wasn't so bad after all.